ABC News contributor, former Assistant Homeland Security Secretary Elizabeth Neumann is here with more. Hi, Elizabeth. How concerning is this cyber attack and the way it was conducted? And how big of a deal is this that it was done with the help of AI?
Right. I mean, this is a major development. It's been one that in the cybersecurity community we've been discussing would come, the day would come, and now the day is here. The reality is that AI advances skills for good and for harm. And one of the things that's really interesting about what we learned from Anthropic is that the hackers actually had to get around the guardrails that are set up in AI systems. They effectively jailbroke it in order for it to perpetrate the harm. But that does tell us something about these systems. Those guardrails, which everybody is trying to set up and make sure that when we're using these systems that they're not perpetrating harm, that they can be broke. And while this is like a new territory for everybody, a new frontier, we are going to have these kind of moments where, oh, it's here. This thing that we worried could happen does happen, and it is going to cause harm from time to time.
Elizabeth, meanwhile, the State Department is designating 4 groups they say are Antifa-linked as foreign terrorist organizations. So what do we know about these groups and what kind of threat they pose?
Look, the State Department does have this authority to designate terrorist organizations. It's actually quite a rigorous legal process. I've personally been involved in the designation process in the past. And what I am seeing from what they've put out is likely that these groups do meet some of the basic parts of the tests that they have to have conducted terrorist activities. Now, let's be clear, these are really small groups. They're really more of a local problem. And they do cause harm. They have had bombings. They've killed people. But this is not the same as, say, identifying a new ISIS cell and designating it a terrorist organization affiliated with ISIS. There is no such thing as Antifa in terms of a large organization or an organizational structure that is called Antifa. Antifa is a shorthand for the term anti-fascist. You can be against fascism and not at all be a terrorist group. And this particular instance, what they've done is identified a few groups that are anti-fascist, but also have committed terrorist attacks, and they've designated them. The concern I have with this designation, however, is that legally speaking, you're not supposed to designate as a group, a terrorist group, unless they pose a threat to U.S. national security or U.S. interests. And so far, what the State Department has provided does not make that case, and so this does seem to be a bit of a stretch for a designation.
The U.S. military has launched deadly strikes on alleged drug traffickers it also classifies as terrorists. How does designating these groups as foreign terrorist organizations change how the administration can target them?
That's a great question, and one that we need to be offering more clarity to the American public. When you designate a group a terrorist organization, it does not give you the right to strike them militarily. In order to use lethal force, you do need an act of Congress that allows the military to conduct that act of lethal force. I'm very concerned about what we have seen carried out in the Caribbean and in the Pacific against the cartels is unlawful. That it is tantamount to murder without a probable cause and an authorization from Congress. So I don't believe that this designation of these Antifa groups allows the military to do something. It does bring a whole host of financial penalties and other penalties for anybody providing material support. So there are some legal tools it opens. It does not open force, any sort of force to be able to be used against them.
All right. ABC News contributor, former Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security, Elizabeth Neumann. We appreciate it, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Thank you.